Oh my god, you guys, check it out. Look what I found. A Grubby game. A Grubby game was just loaded today on sc2rep.com, and I pretty much had to grab it right away and cast it because I know that some of my subscribers are Grubby fans, and I mean, Grubby is just an awesome player. If you guys don't know anything about Grubby, Grubby is a Dutch player who was very, very famous in Warcraft 3. He was a very good Warcraft 3 player and got a lot of fame through Warcraft 3, and now that StarCraft 2 is out, he is now a very good StarCraft 2 player. So, this is going to be a Grubby game. This is going to be a PvT, that is Protoss versus Terran, on Darim Altar. Grubby, spawning as the green Protoss, has spawned here in the bottom left corner of Darim Altar, while his opponent, AureS, I don't know how to say his name, AureS? I'm going to call him AureS because that's how I read it, has spawned as the purple Terran in the top left corner. And I guess there was some pausing action here. They're asking if they can go. I'm guessing somebody paused the game. But anyway, Grubby is a caster that I actually didn't know him much in Warcraft 3. Everyone knows him from Warcraft 3. Everyone talks about how amazing he was in Warcraft 3. But I was not a Warcraft 3 player, sadly. I was a StarCraft Brood War player, and then I started playing StarCraft 2 when StarCraft 2 came out, and so I didn't know anything about Grubby. Once Grubby came onto the StarCraft 2 scene, I casted a few of his games, and man, he's really good. He's just a really, really good, really solid Protoss player. Up top, if we check out Team Terran, we can see that Terran has thrown down that supply depot, thrown down that barracks, and is now throwing down a gas geyser. Grubby is coming in right now to try to scout. I'm sure he will scout that barracks as well as that supply depot. That refinery, rather. The refinery is something very, very important to scout. When you're going in to scout any opponent in any game, you always want to know what it is you're going in to scout. You want to scout for several things. First, you want to see if there's anything obvious. What buildings does he have in his base? In this case, he's got one barracks. That's cool. That's good to know. That means he has the ability to make Marines. Oh my god, I think my vent is on. I gotta get rid of that guy. Alright, vent is now closed and nobody will be talking to me during this cast. Okay, what was I talking about? Scouting, that's right. So when you scout any opponent's base, you always want to scout, 1, the buildings that they have. You want to scout, 2, whether they have gas. You always want to scout if they have gas, because if they have 2 gas, it means they're going for a really, really fast tech. It means they're going very quickly rushing to, who knows, in this case maybe Banshees, maybe going for a very quick stim, siege tank, something like that. 1 gas is usually a better indicator of going for a little bit of tech, like maybe a normally timed stim, maybe some siege tanks, maybe some blue flame Hellions. But 1 gas is usually not too indicative of too much, other than he is not rushing. If a Terran player is to rush, he is not going to need that gas. He's just going to need a couple of barracks up with some Marines up very fast. And yeah, for that he needs no gas. So if you go into your opponent's base and you scout no gas, you can at least guess that there might be some pressure coming your way. Grubby did indeed scout that there was 1 gas. And so he didn't build any more gateways, nothing, no big reactions, no forge going down, no kind of major defensive structures going down yet. And both players are actually expanding right now. Both players have thrown down expansions, and both are coming up. Notice also that AureS, our Terran player, waited for Grubby's probe to leave to throw down his tech lab for that very reason. It's almost like a counter-scouting measure. He saw that Grubby was in his base, and he didn't want to let Grubby know anything about what kind of tech he was going for, so he waited till after that probe was gone before he threw down that tech lab. He is now throwing up 2 more barracks so that he can get some infantry production coming out here. And here comes the worker split from our purple Terran player. You know what? I think that's what I'm going to call him this whole cast. I'm going to call him the purple Terran, because that just is easier to try to pronounce than AureS, or AureS. Anyway, down in Camp Grubby, we do have an expansion that is a little bit behind that of AureS, but he has thrown down his 3 gateways. His warp gate tech is up, so he is going to be warping in some units very shortly. And for some reason he's also ahead in the food count. I'm not entirely sure why right now Grubby is pretty far ahead in the food count. 38 to 29 food. That is a pretty good way ahead in the food count. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. I guess he's just been getting some constant production off that warp gate, I assume. Zealots, that if you notice, do cost 2 supply, whereas Marines only cost 1 supply. So it's possible that he was just constantly producing Zealots out of there, and he was only producing Marines out of his 1 barracks, so he kind of fell behind a little bit. If we check out the Harvester count right now, wow, actually Grubby is ahead in Harvester count too, so AureS did cut production of probes there for a little bit. I'm not entirely sure why he did that, because you always kind of, if you're going for a more economic style of play, like AureS is clearly doing, seeing as he's gotten up this natural expansion quite quickly, you want to be constantly producing workers. You always want to be producing more and more workers so that you can be advancing your economy, because you want to get as fast of an economy as you can, so that you can really start pumping out those units in the mid-game. Grubby right now just positioning his army in a forward position. He does have the watchtower, so he can see anything that's coming on the map there. And he's placing a few pylons around the map. I don't know, I believe there was another one at some point, but it looks like he either cancelled it or no, actually no, here it is. This is the one that he had placed earlier. I like this move by Grubby. Anytime you're Protoss, you can gain quite a bit of an advantage, both in vision and just the ability to warp in units anywhere on the map. If you have these pylons placed all over the map, you really don't need that many pylons to power all of your buildings. A couple of pylons are good. You don't want to get too many of those Artosis pylons going on. But this gives you sight. Any drops that are coming around this side of the map, Grubby will be able to see, because he has these well-placed pylons here. Grubby is now going in for an engagement here, coming to the front of AureS, and AureS is pulling off all his SCVs off the line to come try to defend this attack. All the SCVs are moving in. This bunker is taking a lot of damage, and the bunker is going to go down, and a lot of damage is being dealt. I believe AureS does have enough to be able to hold this off. Looks like this attack is going to, yes, be forced back from Grubby. Grubby is now pulling back, although he is warping in more Zealots here, so he's warping in more Zealots to try to absorb some damage, and Zealots just tend to be very good against these infantry type units, because they, especially if you upgrade their armor, they take very little damage from Marines anyway. Grubby here kind of poking in at the front, just trying to see, being very cautious, doesn't want to commit too hard to an attack. If he commits too hard to an attack, he could get stuck in there. These Marines and Marauders, he did note, do have stim. They did stim when he went in there the first time, so he knows that the Marines and Marauders can move faster than his army. This means that he needs to be extra careful about committing to attack, because if he commits to an attack and decides, hey, you know what, this attack isn't working out, I need to pull back, he doesn't have that option to run away, because his units are going to be slower than AureS' units, who have that stim and would be able to catch up quite easily. Grubby's still macroing up pretty good army behind this. He's still way ahead in the harvester count, 48 to 35 harvesters right now, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see Grubby take a 3rd expansion pretty soon. Both players here now going for, let's see, we now have 4 barracks rather, on the Terran camp, with a factory up now, as well as a starport. The starport is going to be pumping out some medevacs, and I will be interested to see what he's going to be pumping out of this factory. I wouldn't be surprised to see this factory lift off and swap with that barrack so we can get some extra Marine production going on. It's not that common to go Hellion against Protoss units at this point in the StarCraft 2 metagame. Every now and then, yes indeed, he is swapping that. Every now and then you will see a very unusual build where if the Terran player sees that the Protoss is going very, very heavy Zealot, then he can go Hellion to try to counter those blah, 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 what was I going to say? He was going to go Hellion heavy to try to counter those Zealots. Now, as I was saying earlier, those well-placed pylons all over the map did allow Grubby to scout this medevac. He does know this medevac is there because of that excellent placement of pylons all around the map. That's just very, very good basic things that anybody can do, really. If you are a Protoss player, try doing that. Try placing some pylons around the map. This allows you to warp in anywhere you'd like. If he has a pylon placed here, as soon as his attack force moves in like AureS is doing right now, then that means Grubby could just warp in 4 Zealots right here and send them right into the middle line of AureS and deal a lot of potential damage. Now it looks like we are going to be seeing an engagement coming down here very soon, but this is a little bit longer of a game, so I am going to have to extend this to a part 2. This engagement we will be able to see if AureS will be able to deal any damage here. He has pulled his SCVs. We will be back in a moment to see what happens to this fight. In a moment, guys.